Hey guys, I hope you're doing great today. This is our chapter number 20 where we are going to talk about how Git works. My fellas, in the previous lecture we discussed about what is Git, and we also discussed the difference between the centralized version control and distributed version control. We know that Git is a distributed version control system. It is open source and freely available. When we install Git, we can create repositories, we can commit changes on our local VM. But we also discussed about the difference between Git and GitHub. Git is a version control on our local system, whereas GitHub is a cloud service which provides Git in the cloud. Now we must know how Git works. So that would be actually a lab session in which we are going to practically install Git on our Ubuntu Linux VM. We are going to install GitHub CLI on our VM. We are going to create our first repository on our VM, and also we will create a repository on github.com after creating an account on github.com, and also we will create a personal access token so that we know how can we commit changes to our repository. So I would highly recommend that you must watch this lab session to clear your concepts about Git and how Git works behind the scenes. These are actually behind the scenes of Git functionalities. And if you have not subscribed my channel, I would request you to please make sure to subscribe DevOps Molvi on YouTube. Let's start our Git session. Alright guys, I am logged in my VM. So first of all, we need to check whether Git is installed on my local VM or not. So I will check which Git, and there is no output of this command, so it means that Git is not installed. So the command to install Git is simple as apt install and git. Okay, and I will give the password of my user and the Git will be installed. Okay guys, you can see the Git has been installed. Now if I run which Git, you can see we have the binary here, and now I would be able to run the Git commands. Git, and you can see there are a lot of Git commands we can see, and there would be a separate Git commands lecture, and we will try to cover each and every Git command in that lecture. So starting with how Git works, let me create an empty directory, mkdir DevOps Repo. Okay, now this is my repository here. I'm going to initialize a repository in DevOps Repo. This would be my folder. Now I will run git init command, git initialize, and an empty Git repository would be initialized. Okay, now you can see it is saying using master as the name for the initial branch. So the master branch would be created, and I have this repository initiated. Okay, now we can see the Git folder, hidden Git folder here. You can see .git, and it, guys, it is, you can say, the database of Git. It contains everything regarding our repository. So when we initialize an empty repository using git init command, so this folder .git is created here in the same repository, and now we would be able to run Git commands, and we are now able to commit and change our files and modify the files. So we have that repository initialized. Now I will check the status of this repository. So the command is git status. So you can see that it is on master branch, and there are no commits yet. I have made no changes in this repository. Okay, so first of all, I will create an empty file. Okay, this would be my first file, my first file dot txt. This is my file, and now I will run git status again, and it will show us that there are some changes in this repository. Git status. And guys, now you can compare both outputs here. It says that on branch master there is nothing to commit. This is a totally empty repository. Now there is another output, and it is saying there is an untracked file. Okay, now we are going to learn three stages: untracked, staged, and committed. Okay, now first stage is saying that this file is untracked. Okay, so it means that the file has been created, but it has not been staged or committed. It is a standalone file. Now we have to add it, and then we have to commit it so that it can be pushed and tracked by our Git repository. Now this is an empty file. Okay, so what I will do, I will add so that goes it moves forward to the next stage. Guys, always the files are in the first stage, which is known as untracked. These files are not being tracked by Git. We have to add them to the repository so that they are going to be tracked. Now in untracked files, Git does not know if there are any modifications or if there are any changes happening with these files. So we have to add our files so that Git start tracking, and that stage is known as staged files. Okay, so I will use git add and dot, so it will add our files into the staging phase. Okay, now we will run again, and you can see that this file is now being tracked, and it is saying that you can run this command to unstages to move it from Git tracking. Now Git will see what is happening with this file. Git will have a 24/7 look on this file because it is in the tracked stages. Now I will create a new separate file, and we will again see the difference. Okay, touch my second file .txt. Okay, now I haven't added it. Okay, so we can see there should be one untracked file and one staged file. So there are two phases. I hope that you now understand that we have studied, we have practically saw that there are two stages. One is untracked files. The second stage is staged files, and the third stage would be committed files. Okay, now git status, and you can see that there are now two stages showing, but still I have not committed any changes to the repository. Now this is our staged file. Now this is our untracked file. So if I run git add and dot, the second file would also be included in the staged phase. Now again, git status, we can see that there are now two files, and both are in the staging phase. Now for instance, git log, this shows that there are no committed, though there are no commits. Git log shows when there are some commits, so we will definitely see when there would be some commits in the files. Now again, I will modify the file, and then I will commit the changes. Nano my first file, and I will modify it. This is my first change in the file. Okay, now again there would be the status of git would be changed, and we can see it will say that this file has been in the modified state. Okay, now you are, I hope that you're getting the difference. First there were untracked files, then we added them in our git staging phase, the staged files. Now again we modified the file to see whether git is now uh, looking our files and monitoring and added and logging the changes. So yes, this is true because we have modified the file. This is my first file .txt and I have modified it. So now what would I do? I will again add these modifications into the file. Okay, and I will run add git add, and now again git status. You can see our file has been updated and it has those previous changes, and now I will run the git commit command so that our changes can be committed. So git commit and -m, which is message. -m stands for message, my first chain. For instance, this is the message, and now you can see that there is, the output says that there are two files created in this commit. Okay, this file, the second file, two files have been changed. Two files were created and there was insertion, there was I mean there was something added in one file. Now guys, I will again modify this second file, nano my second file. Okay, and this is my second chain. So I'm changing the second file. Now git status. So without watching the output, what would be the change? One file would be in the modified state, and what would be that file? It would be my second file. Now we can see this file has been modified. Okay, and now again I will run git commit -a command to add the changes so that our repository is updated. So I will add this file git add, and now git status. You can see that this file was modified, so it means that the file is now staged. And for instance, if I do not want this file to be staged, I can run this command is given by git itself, that if you want to unstage any file, you want to remove it from being tracked, then you can run this command. So let's run and see the output. This file, and now I can see this file would be in the untracked state. Now again I will add it, git add, and this. Now again I will commit git commit minus with the message. This is my second chain. Okay, and now guys, you can see that there was only one file changed and there was only one insertion. Okay, so you can see that there was only one file that was changed and there was only one insertion. Now I will see the git status, and there are no comments. Sorry, git status, and you can see there are no comments, nothing to commit, working tree clean. I mean that those files have been modified and they are added and they are now staged and committed. So guys, I hope that now you understand that there are actually three, or you can say there are four phases if we add modified as well, but as per git there are actually three stages. First is untracked, second is staged, third is committed. Okay, I hope that now you understand. For instance, if I add a new file, it would be first in the untracked stage. Now after I add it using the git add command, git will start tracking it and it will be in the second stage, the staged files. and after that if I commit, then this would be the committed state. Now we can run the git log files and it would show us about the commits git log. Now you can see we have this log git log command to see the logs of the commits that have been made by the developers. What are the developers committing, and what is any DevOps engineer or software engineer is committing. So we have this log git log using the git log command, and if I change anything, then after commit there would be the log would be updated. And now guys, we can see another. Let me repeat it a little bit more quickly. I will create another file, touch my third file, okay, third file .txt. Now again I will check the status, it would be untracked. Now I will add it, git add, so that it is in the staging phase, staged. Now I can see the status has been changed, but now again I will modify it. Nano, my third file, this is my third file, and I will save it. Now there would be another status that the file has been modified. We can check it. You can see it has been modified and it is also being staged. Now I will make a couple of changes in my third file, nano my third file, and you can see I will create some changes. This is my fourth change, okay, fifth change. It means that there is some code being added, okay, sixth change and seventh change. Then I will run the git command to see the difference between the first version of the file and the current version of the file. Git diff, this command will tell us the difference. Okay, now you can see that there has been some changes to the file, and it says that these were the changes. Now I will also change the second file, nano my second file, and fourth change, one change, two change, three. Okay, I will change here as well. Now again we will run git diff command, and you can see that it is also showing my second file is also being changed, and there has these were the changes. So guys, that's how we can see what were the changes in the previous and the current versions of the file. Now these were actually the changes. Now if I run git status command, you can see that both files have been modified, and therefore I will run git add to add these changes, and then git commit -m final changes in the code. For instance, this is my message. Now you can see that two files were changed, okay, there were two files that have been changed, and there were actually 11 insertions. Wow, this is beautiful because we have the track record of all the changes, how much insertions, what were the changes, how many files were changes. We have all the record. And guys, I told you that there is actually a hidden folder which is .git, which maintains everything for us, and it is just like a database of Git. Now guys, I have this repository and I have all these files. Now I want to push this local repository DevOps repo to my GitHub account. Now this is something really interesting When I was practicing it, I found it really interesting, and I hope that you will enjoy it too. First of all, you must have a GitHub account, github.com, so you can sign up on GitHub for free. You can create your personal account, and you just need an email and password, so you can have your account on GitHub to create public and private repositories. Now I will click on the sign up button, and I just have to give my email address, and you can see this user interface is literally so beautiful. By the way, I have my account already created on GitHub, and I have a couple of repositories, and we are going to push this repository which is created on our VM. It is a local repository. Okay, now I want to move or push everything, every file, every change to my GitHub account. So first we must have GitHub CLI installed. So GitHub is actually installed via this command, sudo apt install github. I have already installed it, but this is the command, and it will let us know that gh means GitHub CLI has already been installed. Now if I run gh command, GitHub, you can see that there are a lot of GitHub commands as well. Now these commands help us to play with, to work on our repositories that are hosted on our GitHub account. Now this is my GitHub account. I have a couple of repositories here. This is actually the dashboard. You get the repositories you follow. If they have any update, then you can see all these updates here, and this is actually the dashboard of my GitHub account. And similarly we can create, I'm not sure, okay, welcome to GitHub, let's begin the adventure. For instance, if I sign up DevOps Molvi at gmail.com and continue, and it will just ask for the password. Okay, and since I don't have to create a new account, I'm just letting you know, guys, that this is that simple. You can create your free GitHub account using your personal email address and password, and you can have unlimited public and private repositories on GitHub. I'm sure these are unlimited. Let me check if there are any packages, etc. Sorry, GitHub plans. GitHub plans. By the way, there are a couple of plans. We have these plans offered by GitHub. Okay, and there is the enterprise plan. This is team, and this is for students and beginners and DevOps engineers like us. Okay, so you can have everything to work with using this free plan, and you can create a free organization. Just I told you that you can have unlimited public and private repositories on one account. This is amazing. And you can have 2000 CI/CD minutes per month. CI/CD we will definitely going to cover in our next section. That was after finishing Git, we are definitely moving towards GitHub Actions and CI/CD. And you can see that there are other features, but this enterprise plan has a lot of features. But and I'm sure that the organizations with a large code base definitely buy enterprise plan. And my previous company had this team plan where every account was costing $4 per month, and you can see that everything which is offered in free plan is already included, and there are other features offered in this team plan. And for large organizations with huge development and coding and software engineering teams, definitely rely and purchase this enterprise plan. And by the way guys, it is actually 21 US dollars per user per month. For instance, if an organization has 100 employees and it will create 100 accounts, then definitely they will have to pay 2100 US dollars for all the employees, for all the developers. So that's how we can also purchase our GitHub account for our team and enterprise. Okay guys, now these are my repositories. You can see on the left hand side of your dashboard, you can see all the repositories, and this button is used to create a new repository. So we can create a new repository from here as well. I will discuss it later. This is really simple to create any public or private repository for your code. Let's push this repository to GitHub. So gh command is gh repo create. You can see it here. Gh repo create, clone, fork, and view repositories. So I will use gh repo create. Okay, that is the simple command, and the same repository will be hosted on our github.com account. Okay, now it is saying that create a new repository on GitHub from scratch or push an existing local repository to GitHub. So I will use this option, push an existing local repository to GitHub. I want to push this DevOps repo to GitHub. Now, what would you like to do? Push an existing local repository to GitHub. Path to local repository. Dot means the current path where I am currently now. I'm in DevOps repo directory, so I will use this path. Dot, okay, dot. Now repository name, the same name. I would like to use DevOps repo, and any description like this repo was created from Git from command line, because we have created this repository from command line, and now we are going to push it to GitHub. And now, do you want to have this repository public, private, or internal? For now, let's suppose I want to have this repository as private. Okay, this would be my private repository. Okay, now it is saying that HTTP 401 bad credentials. Try authenticating with GitHub auth login. So it means that we have to first authenticate first. And I wanted to replicate this error, so we need to first authenticate with our GitHub account from our VM. So I will run this now, and I will. What account do you want to log in into? Okay, it is saying that which account do you have? We have on github.com. We do not have GitHub enterprise server, we have github.com. So I will use this, press enter. So what is your preferred protocol for Git operations? So guys, this is, by the way, GitOps. Okay, we are also learning about GitOps as well. These are all Git operations. So I want to have HTTPS login with a web browser or paste an authentication token. So I will definitely paste an authentication token here. Now you can generate a personal access token using this URL. Okay, I will use this URL. The minimum required scopes are repo, read, org, workflow. I mean to say that these are minimum requirement for the token. The token must have these accesses, paste your authentication token. So first, now we need to create the token. So I can paste this URL, and instead of this URL, if you don't know this URL, we can go from here under my profile picture. We can see the settings here. Okay, we're sorry, these are the settings, and in settings, this is my profile, and here I can use the developer settings, and it will lead us to personal access tokens. So I can create tokens here using the classic tokens, and I can generate new token. So you can go from here as well. This option under your profile, go to settings and then developer settings, and then we can create the token from here. So now I will generate a new token, okay, a new classic token. So I have to authenticate. We can see that we have these a number of options, and these are actually permissions that we can grant to our token. So here it just told us that our token must have the repo, read, or and workflow access. But let's suppose that uh, I will just create a custom token just for one day. By the way, I will delete it because this token is everything. Your GitHub account access, actually this is your GitHub account credential. So I can create this token for one day only, and now we can give access as per our requirements. So let's suppose that I'm giving full access to this. We will get a new token. This is now I'm also giving this token a full access to delete the repositories as well. So make sure that whenever you are creating token for your colleagues, for your employees, make sure to give them the only access that they need. Okay, since it is my own account, I am the sole owner, so I am giving myself full access, and then I will generate the token. Okay, it is saying that note for DevOps Molvi channel should not be blank. Now I will generate the token. Okay guys, make sure that you copy this token and paste it somewhere. I will temporarily save it in my no. Okay, I have saved it. Now I will use this token to authenticate from my VM. Okay, I will paste the authentication token here. Now let's see what is going to happen. Okay, so you can see that our Git protocol has been configured, and we have logged in as Fasihan. So this is my account username. Now I can run this command to create the repository again. So GitHub repository, create a new repository or push an existing repository. Okay, now path to dot and DevOps repo description. This is my DevOps repo, and it would be our private repository, and add a remote. Yes, we have to add a remote like origin. Yes, origin. Would you like to push commits from the current branch to origin? I would say yes. And now let's see what does. Okay, so it is saying that pushed commits to this repository DevOps repo.git. So our every content, everything has been pushed to this repository. Now I will copy this URL and I will see what do we have on our GitHub account. So we must have this repository here. Okay guys, you can see we have this repository with all these files. That is something really cool while using GitHub CLI, and you can see that we have all the changes that we had on our VM. I mean, I have pushed the repository, I have pushed every file with all the changes. Now we will make more changes and we will create a new file to see that if our changes are being pushed on our GitHub repository. So you can see that all these files have their content. Now again, so this is wonderful guys. You must install GitHub CLI and you must authenticate with your token and create a repo and push the repo on your GitHub account. Now I will create another file. Touch, this is, oh sorry, my fourth file .txt. Okay, now git status, we can see that this file is untracked. Now I will, this is our fourth file and we are going to commit via git. Okay, and yes, git status, now it has been modified as well. So I will git add dot. Now again we will check git status. Now I will comment and git commit -m fourth file created, and you can see that one file was changed and one insertion. So I will use the git push command. This is a new command and this will push the changes to our master branch, and you can see that this file has been pushed. Now again I will refresh and see what do we have here. Okay guys, now you can see that we have this fourth file and it has been created, and so you can see this is our fourth file and we are going to commit via git. So here we can also get the comments. Okay, every commit that was made earlier with the commit ID here, and we can see all the changes here as well. This is just like we have git log. Okay, so we have all the commit here as well, and now we can also see all these comments here in graphical user interface, that is github.com. So guys, this is a little overview. Now again, I will, if I want to clone this repository, for instance I have another VM and I want to clone, I want to get the full copy of this private repository on my, let's suppose, another VM. So I can go here and I can paste this copy this URL and I will clone this. So for instance, this is my another VM and I want to get the full copy of that repository we have on our GitHub. So I can run git clone command and paste this URL, okay. I will copy it and I can paste git clone and this URL, and since it is a private repository and I have already been authenticated, now gh auth logout. Okay, I will log out from this account. Then again, if I want to clone this repository, for instance, I will remove this, remove DevOps repo, rm-fr DevOps repo. Let me remove it. Now again, if I run this git clone command, it will definitely ask for the authentication. Since we have logged out, so you can see that it is asking for the username. So I will paste my username, Pasi Khan, and I will use token as the password. Okay, now this would be my password or token. Okay, now you can see I can have this repository here, DevOps repo, and it should have all the contents here as well. So that's how we can clone the full copy of any GitHub repository. You can see it, this .git folder is here as well. So that was the practice, guys, in which we created a repository on our VM, and then we installed GitHub CLI, and we tasted a little bit of GitOps, Git operations, and so we have to create an account on our github.com. So I had my account, and then we authenticated using personal access token. Now let's see what can we create, how we can create a private repository here as well. So similarly, if I say DevOps repo 2, that would be the name, and this is our second DevOps repo, and then I can have it as private. If I have any sensitive or code or personal data or anything of my organization, so add a readme file about any information about the project. .git ignore is used to files which we do not want to track, which we do not want to be pushed to our GitHub account. So we can add those files, those directories in .git ignore, and we have to choose a license. It is for our personal use, so the license is none, and this will set the main as the default branch. Change the default name in your setting. We can change the settings as well, but let's suppose it is main, so we can create a repository using this option. So you can see our DevOps repo has been created, and now we can also for instance, if I change something here, let's clone this repo on our VM. Okay, and let's see how it goes. Okay, I will commit the change. That's how we can commit in. So our readme file has been updated. Now this is our main branch. Okay, and I will use the same, this button, and we can have three types of cloned types. We can clone via SSH, via GitHub CLI, and also let's suppose I am using this option now because we have GitHub installed. So I will use this URL, and for instance, in our DevOps Molvi folder, I will use this, and now it says that run git auth login, and I will log in again and login with paste and authentication. So I have to paste the authentication again. Once logged in, I should not. Okay, now cloning into DevOps repo 2. So we have this DevOps repo 2 folder here, ls-l, you can see here, cd DevOps repo, and it should have only one readme file. And let's clone this repo on our VM. So that's how, guys, we can clone using GitHub Git operations, and this is the practice to clone repositories on your VM, and that's how we can create repositories on our GitHub account. So I think now that's enough for today's lecture. We learned how Git works. We saw the files being tracked and committed and in the stage phase. Also, we installed Git and GitHub CLI, and we created a local repository, and then we pushed that repository to on our GitHub account. Uh, that all that was all done practically. You saw that we also created a repository on our command line terminal, and you saw that we had this repository on our GitHub account, and then we also created a repository on our github.com. So I would strongly recommend that you must create an account on. I hope that you have that account on github.com, but if not, you must create one account on GitHub and try playing with Git and install GitHub CLI on your VM and push and pull changes to the repository. In the next chapter, we are going to discuss about Git branches and a little bit more about GitHub and Git. So make sure to subscribe my channel. I will watch you in the next lecture.